Welcome, my dear students, on a new lecture on functional analysis. In the previous lecture, we have discussed about Schwartz inequality, and in this lecture, we will discuss some more properties about inner product. So, the first property is continuity of the inner product. So, we have a lemma. The lemma states that if in an inner product space xn converges to x and yn converges to y, then inner product xn yn converges to inner product xy. So, which means that the convergence also invariant under the inner product operation. So, if we have a sequence xn which converges to a number x and we have another sequence yn which converges to some number y, then we can construct a sequence which is a real sequence or a complex sequence which is actually inner product x and yn which converges to the real number inner product xy. That's the argument. So in order to prove that, we have to establish that these are real sequences or complex sequence. So the difference between or the modulus of the difference between these two should be less than epsilon after a certain stage. That's what we have to establish. Okay, so what we have given with is the fact that, so proof, given that xn converges to x, so using the inner product notion we have inner product xn x converges to 0. Okay, because xn converges to x, which means that the difference between them two should be less than epsilon after a certain stage. Okay, as n tends to infinity, or in other words, norm of xn minus x should be tending to 0 as n tends to infinity. That's the argument. Also, given that yn converges to y, so which means that inner product y and y goes to 0, or in other words, as n tends to infinity, or in other words, norm of yn minus y tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. So, as I have already told you, what we have to prove is the fact that we have to establish that the difference between modulus of this quantity and this quantity should be less than epsilon after a certain stage. That's what we have to establish, because inner product xn yn and inner product xy are real or complex sequences. So what we are going to do is we are checking whether or not the difference is actually less than some number. So for that, consider modulus of inner product xn yn minus inner product xy. Okay, now why we are taking modulus? Because this answer is actually real or complex or underneath scalar field. So this should be equal to, I'm not saying that in every case this should be real and complex. I'm saying that this should be scalars. This sequence should be scalars. Inner product x and yn should be as collection of scalars or scalar sequence where the scalar field is the underneath field of the vector space, okay, with which we have defined the inner product. And inner product xy is actually an element in the scalar field, okay. So the modulus of the difference between them two. Now what we are going to do is we are making an adjustment, okay. So this should be equal to modulus of inner product xn yn minus inner product xn y plus inner product xn y minus inner product xy. So what we are doing is we are adding and subtracting inner product x and y on this part. And also please remember that you can actually do inner product x y n. You can actually add and subtract inner product x y n as well here. Okay. Now using triangle inequality we can write this as this should be less than or equal to inner product xn yn minus inner product x and y plus inner product x and y minus inner product xy. Okay, now we have the difference of two quantities in modulus or the inner product. Now using the basic properties of inner product we can separate them. So this can be written as this should be equal to first quantity is same, so inner product xn comma yn minus y by the basic properties of inner product. Similarly here we have inner product xn minus x comma y. Okay, now using Schwarz inequality modulus of inner product AB should be less than or equal to norm of A times norm of B. So by Schwarz inequality this should be less than or equal to norm of xn times norm of yn minus y, and this should be less than or equal to by Schwarz inequality norm of xn minus x times norm of y. Now since norm of yn minus y tends to 0 and norm of xn minus x tends to 0 as xn converges to x and yn converges to y, so this part should go to 0 because this part goes to 0 as xn converges to x and this part goes to 0 as yn converges to y, and these two quantities norm of xn and norm of y are finite quantities. Okay, so in general this goes to 0, so which means that modulus of inner product xn yn minus inner product xy tends to 0, so which means that inner product xn yn goes to inner product xy as n tends to infinity, so which means that this converges to this value. So that's the whole idea. Okay, so this is regarding the continuity of the inner product. So using this argument we can state two things. The continuity also holds because in terms of continuity we are actually taking the limit. Okay, you can take the sequential criteria for continuity as well. So xn converges to x, so here yn converges to y, here inner product x and yn also converges to inner product xy. So using the same argument as in the case of normed spaces, you can argue that this actually means that this inner product preserves continuity, and also this can also be stated as inner product preserves convergence as well. So that's the two things which we can establish from this. Okay. So we have stated that this theorem is actually somewhat a restatement of the continuity which is preserved under inner product and the convergence which is preserved under inner product. Okay, so let's move on. Now, as an application of this lemma or this theorem, what we have done is we have taken a sequence xn which converges to some point x and yn which converges to some point y, and inner product xn yn converges to inner product xy. So which means that if you take an arbitrary sequence with regards to inner product with the corresponding component parts is actually convergence. So this actually converges. This inner product also converges to some number. That number is inner product xy. So understand that this means that every sequence in an inner product space can be made it into a convergence sequence. So in other words, every Cauchy sequence can have a limit. So in other words, it means that even though inner product spaces may not be a complete space, which can be made it into a complete space. So this lemma also gives an insight that for every sequence xn converges to x and yn converges to y, the sequence inner product xn yn actually converges to some number, or it can have a limit. Even though that limit may not be in our space, we can add those elements into our space to make it into a complete space. So this theorem also gives an insight that an inner product space can actually be completed. That's the idea, because every sequence can have a limit. Okay, so which means that even though the limit may not be in our space, we can add those limits into our space to make a bigger space from which we can actually do the completion part. So that's the argument regarding completion. So we will state formally what is actually completion means and how can we do that. Before getting into much further details regarding completed space, we have to have a knowledge about isomorphism, because if you are given with an inner product space x, let's say x, and this space may not be complete because every Cauchy sequence in this sequence may not be converging into that space. Using this regard, we have identified that if we can add some more elements into that space, we can make them into a complete space. So x can be completed using the simple argument that x along with some other elements or a bigger space of x is actually a completion of x. That's the argument. Now some others can add some other elements onto x and form a new space x tilde, and which can also be said to be a complete space of x. Now, as we have already discussed in the case of inner product space and vector space and normed space, the two spaces, even though their elements may not be same, their operations may not be same, the structural properties may be same. So, if some add some elements with regards to some operations to make a bigger space which is claimed to be a completion of this space, and others add some other elements with regards to some other operations and make it into a complete space, what we have to observe is the fact that whether or not these two holds the same properties or these two have the same structural similarities. They may not have the same elements, they may not have the same operations. Does they have the structural similarity? Okay. So structural similarity means we have to define an isomorphism. Okay. Now the basic question is, does there exist an isomorphism from these two space? And if at all there exists such an isomorphism, we can conclude that a space has a unique completion. So that's the idea. So in order to understand that, we need to have a prior knowledge about isomorphism. As in the previous case, an isomorphism is a mapping which preserves the structural properties. So which means that if you formally define that isomorphism, it's a map from a space, inner product space, X onto another space, which preserves inner product or which preserves the structure. So an isomorphism T of an inner product space X inner product space X onto an inner product space X tilde is a bijective over the same field. The field underneath field of the both structure should be same. Is a bijective linear map T from X to X tilde which preserves the inner product. Which means that for every x comma y element of capital X, that is for all x comma y element of capital X, inner product Tx Ty should be same as inner product Xy. That's the argument. So if we have two spaces, two inner product spaces X and X tilde, and we have a map T from X to X tilde which satisfies three conditions: we should be a bijective map, we should be a linear map, and we should preserve the underneath structure, that is the inner product. So inner product of Tx Ty should be same as inner product of Xy. So as in the case of norm as well. So norm means we have a distance. If the distance preserves, we say that the two spaces actually are isomorphic. Similarly, in the case of inner product, we have the inner product between the images should be same as the inner product between the elements. So if we have a bijective linear map which satisfies this condition, we can say that uh, there exists an isomorphism from X to X tilde, or the spaces X and X tilde are actually isomorphic. So isomorphic means the two spaces have the same structural properties. Even though their elements and their operations may not be same, structurally or composition wise, they are actually the same. Okay. So why we are actually defining this? Our objective was to understand whether or not a space X need to be or can be completed using some sense. And if at all it can be completed, made it into a complete space, does that completion is actually unique? Or every other completion by any other means, or if two we have made two complete spaces of a particular space x tilde and x dash, whether those two spaces are actually isomorphic. If they are actually isomorphic, then we can say that this completion is actually structurally same, or this completion is actually unique. That's why we are defining an isomorphism. In general cases, if we are actually defining two spaces and an isomorphism from both two spaces, it should be a map which preserves the structural similarity or structural composition. That's the idea. So this is regarding an isomorphism and basic insights about the completion of the inner product space and the property that an inner product preserves continuity and convergence. So thank you.